Greetings everybody. Today we're going to talk about next masses. There will be a separate video for small teams. This video will focus on what you should do and avoid in next masses, which is still a very fun activity and very profitable. You will make a lot of money doing this, especially if you get a unique drop. For Ironman, this is also a great way to get Sara Brews and Subaru stores. Notice how I enter the room with some sharks, and I will exit this room with almost a full inventory of Subaru stores. So let's jump right in. The most problems you can find in a mass are the coughers. What the cough means is a special attack by Nex where she targets the player with the lowest magic defense and infects that player with a cough, much like COVID. And this cough spreads to other players. The cough will drain your stats and prayer. It is very deadly. You will do no damage very soon because your range level will go down to 0. And it's very annoying, and we're going to tell you how to avoid this at all costs. So if we move on to the next clip, I'm going to zoom in. When Nex begins her phase, the first phase she does is coughing. Now watch, she's looking at me right now. But no, not actually at me, at the mass of people near me. But what it means is someone near me is about to get cough. In this situation, you need to run away ASAP. So watch how I react. The moment I see her look at me, I start running away. Pronto. And you can see the guy behind me got coughed. Luckily, it didn't spread, but in the next clip, I will show you what happens when it does spread. Here in a different kill, I immediately run away again because I notice she's looking at me. And would you look at that, the cough is now spreading across all the people there. In this situation, don't try to DPS, don't try to jump in there, just hide. It's not worth it. If you get coughed on, you will lose prayer, you'll lose stats, and you'll pass it to other people. It's very hard in a mass not to pass it to other people. You might have the best intentions, but the best thing to do is dodge. See, I see the clump of mass, the coughers coming towards me. So what do? I start running south again because I realize, oh, I'm trapped. So I'm just gonna run away. Forget about DPS. Just don't spread the cough. Wearing a Slayer helm will help reduce the cough duration if you get it, and you will. Next, let's move on to the second attack in her smoke phase, which is drag. Next, will randomly drag a player towards her and disables her protection prayer. It's actually very simple. The only thing you need to keep in mind is the moment she drags you, just remember to turn your prayer back on, and we'll see a demonstration of it here. It's not very deadly unless you are forgetting to turn your prayer back on, then her magic attack starts hitting really hard. So she's gonna drag me, I think about now. Yep, see, the first thing I do is turn my prayer back on and right back to normal. And the last special attack of phase 1, smoke phase, is the dash. So, the dash is when Nex shouts there's no escape and looks in one of the directions in the cross in the center there. Right now she is looking at north, which means she will come down from the north side towards the center. Anyone caught on that platform will get hit for about 40 to 50 damage. You normally won't die from this if you have enough health, but it can one-shot people, and I've seen it happen. So let's just look at this poor guy. He is standing right on the tile that's not outside of the ledge. Unfortunately, he's going to get dashed. Boop, 30 something damage. Moving on to the shadow phase, the second phase, which is the most dangerous phase. Let's pause here. You see those black circles? They are called a shadow smash special attack. She will almost always do this in a smaller group. On a big map, we might be able to skip this. But in a smaller group, expect this to happen and you need to avoid it. This is how I have my most deaths with this. The reason being, you could get hit by 50 from the shadow, and also her auto attack might hit you through prayer, and you'll just instantly die. It's very easy to get KO'd here. Definitely be careful and just be expecting that once the first smoke phase is done, expect to move. Pay high alert. This is the one time where you really need to pay attention. And it's pretty easy, you just have to step out of the way, but sometimes when you grind this boss for a long time, it's very possible you might just forget about it and bam, a lot of damage. Here I do step out under and I was able to escape. And here's a zoom in instance where I dodge a shadow immediately. You have to be fast here. The second special attack is Embrace Darkness, but I also forgot to mention you need to pray ranged on the second phase. It's the only phase you need to pray ranged on. So let's look at Embrace Darkness. She will say Embrace Darkness, and the closer you are to her, the more damage you will take at the end of the special attack, up to 50 to 60. Very easy to get one shot because again, she will be auto attacking you at the same time, and it's constant damage. So let's actually watch what happens this time. I messed up. I stood too close to her when she did Embrace Darkness. She does it now, and I'm running towards her to attack, but I didn't think she would actually come back to the center. She does this flip sometimes, it's a more advanced technique. But I tried to run past her and I realized my mistake. Oh no, I ate immediately because I knew I was going to take a lot of damage. Once the shadow phase is done, it's the blood phase, which I think is the easiest phase. Honestly, you just have to keep two things in mind. Hit the blood veils when they appear, and hit back to next when she's done. And also, if you glow red, which is the blood sacrifice, just run away from her. Not much more to say about this phase. I think the most danger is still in the coughing phase and the smoke phase. So let's move on to the last phase, the ice phase. The ice phase is also relatively easy for a mass. Avoid the containment, which she'll say contain this, and icicles like that right now will appear, and if you're standing next to her, you'll take a lot of damage, and she will put you or someone else in the prison of ice. You can either help them out by crushing the ice, or if it's on you, pray ranged. Keep in mind, pray ranged. Alright, now, we're gonna go to the last phase, the Zaros phase. This phase is actually the easiest phase. She just does a lot of damage. It's a DPS test. She does activate some prayers, you can read about it later, but essentially, you want to be in melee distance in a small team, but in a mass, doesn't matter. Do whatever you want, just shoot her. And when she dies, she'll explode around her, just step away. That's about all it is for the phases. So you might ask, okay, when do the phases change, and a lot of the other questions? Well, we're gonna go into a full kill now, so I can talk about more in detail some of the other things like when phases change and what you should do. Okay, we're gonna actually do a sort of a slow-mo kill, a full kill here. So in the very beginning, you have to notice I actually click very late. The reason for that is if you click immediately when she becomes clickable, your attack will actually get negated most of the time. Jack expelled a whole bunch of special rules into her so that she doesn't get killed instantly. So she has a lot of mini phases where she is damage immune. So the very start, just wait an extra second before attacking her. You're not going to lose that much DPS. At exactly 2720 HP, she becomes invulnerable and her first bodyguard, Fumus, is now attackable. You have to kill her to move on to the next phase. Here's the trick though. When she's about 2900 or 2800, you can start moving away. You don't need to wait until she's 2720, because when she's 2720 hit points and you move away too late, you're going to attack her extra, which will be 0 damage, and then you'll miss the timing to attack Fumus, will die in 1 second. Next is at 2040 HP. This is for the next bodyguard, the shadow bodyguard. Kill him as well like that. You notice most phases have been skipped in massive, so it's actually very safe. But if it does happen, just pay attention. The shadow phase is very dangerous. The blood phase is the easiest. When there are blood veils, attack, or not blood veils, blood reverse, attack the blood reverse, and when next is standing up again, attack next, and that's it. And this phase ends at 1360 hit points. Again, you can just start moving away at maybe 1400 or 1500 hit points. And obviously you're praying mage almost always, except the smoke phase for pray range. And also if you ever get ice prison, you want to switch to pray range immediately, because in the mass, no one's going to free you. You're on your own. But if you pray range, you will not take 70 damage, you'll take maybe 40. Right. Okay, so once the third bodyguard is down, now is the last phase, which lasts until 680 hit points. These numbers, once you do enough knacks, you will memorize them and you'll know kind of when you need to move away based on the team size as well. We have a lot of people here, which means you can move away much earlier. If there's fewer people like a mini-mass, you might need to wait until she's actually at 680 hit points before moving away. But essentially, you kill the last bodyguard, and she will heal up 500 hit points, so she's now back to 1180, but from here down to her demise, it's almost instantaneous, as you'll see here. I mean, we're even in slow-mo, and this kill took probably less than a minute, maybe like around a minute. At a certain point, it becomes a farming simulator for Brews, which I mentioned earlier. You can get a lot of Brews doing this, because she drops a lot of Brews very commonly, and Sharks, which elongates your trip. Let's also talk about the altar as well. There's an altar in the room just like every God War Thunder boss. What's different about it though is that it also heals your run energy and hit points. And the more Zaros items you wear, the more prayer it gives you. So I'm wearing 2 Zaros items. I actually get +2 extra prayers every time I pray. Here's something else to consider. Your positioning. Notice how I am to the left of her. Now when she becomes 680 hit points, phase 4, now I have to run all the way across to hit Leaches, the last bodyguard. And by the time I get there, Leaches is already dead. I don't even get a single hit in. So when you're playing, consider where you position yourself in each phase. Here, you see me running back and forth. This is another advanced technique because her range attack here is based on the distance you are to her. The closer you are, the more damage. So if you can get a hit and run back, and she attacks when you're farthest away, you'll take almost no damage. And now let's look at the clip of the ice prison. I did not get hit by the ice prison, I was on the outskirts. I do not take damage, but I got knocked back, you see. And I could have saved him, I tried to I think, and I was a bit too late. But did you notice that he prey ranged, and then he took a lot less damage? You can go back 5 seconds and just take a peek again. Briefly talk about safe spots too. Now if you safe spot in a mass, you'll be called a leech. But notice that guy there? If he's standing there and Nex is all the way to the other side of the room, Nex will not hit him, he will not waste a single prayer point or hit point. And if he has done enough ruby specs, he'll still do damage. I mean, he'll still get the drops. So yeah, that's a leech right there. And sometimes I've done it as well. If I'm low on food and I need one more kill, I will leech maybe a kill, but don't do this often, you probably will get kicked. The weapon you want to bring here is a crossbow with ruby e-bolts. If you're in a small team, you want to do ruby dragon bolts. But if you're in a mass, adamant ruby bolts are perfectly fine. You will do a lot of damage with it. Even with a single spec, it's a minimum 100 damage, unless Nex is almost dead. And if you make 2 specs, you'll probably get a drop. If you don't do enough damage in a kill, you will not get a drop, so keep that in mind. I also recommend you bring some armor because Nex's melee attacks are based on how low your crush defense is, which means if you bring full DPS and no armor, Nex might actually frequently run towards you or jumps towards you and just melee you for a lot of damage as well. And in the mass, you're not going to see that very clearly, so you'll take extra damage. In a small team, people might actually tell you to wear less armor because they don't want to tank all the time. If you're the one person who wears a giant shield, you're never going to have to tank next. So keep that in mind. For gear, you can go to the wiki for more information because honestly, anything with a crossbow and adamant E works. You could come here with a rune crossbow and black dragon d'hide and you will get drops. You will get a lot of money because she drops some really good stuff. Let's take a look at the drops real quick. So even her common drops are like 100k. For example, a minimum of 11 onyx bolts, which elk for 100k. Rune wars, lots of runes, even dragon bolts, cannonballs, etc. Worth noting that her drops are based on MVP status. You'll get more drops if you're MVP. And this, if you're in a small group, you'll get a lot more drops. But in the mass, there is a minimum drop. So for example, the 11 onyx bolts we talked about earlier, that's a minimum drop. Now let's actually look at some of the other drops that she has that are very interesting. The Blood Essence, also really good elk for 120k, or if you want to runecraft with it. Her pet chance is 1 in 500, but that is it's based on number of people too, so it's not like you're gonna get a pet really quickly. Another interesting item are the EQ Mineral Key Shards. Get 50 of these, combine them into an EQ key, which you can elk for money or use for harder GOTR dungeon bosses like Sara Brews and Armadale. The 40 KC that you need to get to those bosses take a long time. And then lastly, the supply drops. She will always drop sharks with prayer potions and brews with restores, but based on the team size, you might get more. Normally, you'll get 3 sharks, 1 prayer, or 2 brews, and 1 restore. And lastly, let's talk about the uniques. This is why you're here, right? For that big juicy payday drop. You're not gonna get it. I'm sorry, that's just the reality. In the mass, you're not gonna get these drops. The chances are way too low. Those numbers you see there, that's per person, I believe. In the mass, sometimes in the mass of 40 or 50, it's like 1 in 10,000 chance for a drop. Just like a Draconic Visage, you're probably not gonna get it. But you can come here for brews, like me, or other drops that are a lot of money. I was gonna end here, but I forgot. There are tricks you can do when you're getting KC as well. All of these guys are safe spottable. There are many different rocks in this place, but just be careful when you do it, because if you mess up, you'll take a lot of damage. All of the minions here do a whole bunch of damage. But if you want to just save an extra few prayer potions before going in, you can do this. You can see he's stuck behind the rock there, and soon I'll get the other one stuck behind the same rock, but the other way around. Also, these guys, these spiritual mages, drop a lot of good stuff. If you don't have the Slayer levels, just kill the Blood Reavers. There's a bank. You need 40 essence to get in. Now, another thing is that you need 4 frozen key fragments from each of the GOTR dungeon bosses to enter next for the first time. What this means is you do need a minimum of 70 hit points for Zamarok, 70 strength for Bandos, 70 agility for Ziliana, which is honestly probably the hardest one, and then 70 range for Armadale. Yeah, so it's not too hard to get single kills in these bosses, but don't forget to get your keys. And once you do get your keys, you can use it on the frozen door, come in here, and I don't know if the NPC is still here. This recording was made the day before Next was released. She might still be here to talk to you, but I would highly recommend you talk to her because she gives you a lot of good lore behind the background of Next. If you are interested in that kind of stuff, it's a very nice read. Yeah. So we covered a lot, and in closing, I just want to say this boss is still very fun for me, even though I have over 2,000 kills and I've only seen one item drop in my name. That's okay though. I also want to just mention a couple other things as well. For example, the addition of this boss actually made grinding other GOTR dungeons boss super easy because now there's a bank in the GOTR dungeons. What this means is you can go kill a boss 10 times and the bodyguards. That means 40 KC. So for example, Armadale. You kill the boss, and by the time you finish the boss, you will have 40 new Armadale Essence, and you can come to this bank, unnull or withdraw your stuff if you're not Ultimate Ironman, and go right back into the boss without getting the 40 cases again. You don't even need Eku keys anymore. So this boss has really changed the game for a lot of players, especially Ironman. Mechanically speaking, this boss is not as hard as TLB, Chambers of Xerix, or any of the other harder content like Inferno. It's actually very easy, but there are so many things you can do to make it fun, like figuring out these little tricks, these little efficiency improvements when you're killing the boss. So that's it, guys. This is the guide for how to kill Next in the mass, and I hope you learned something. There must be things I missed as well, but yeah, happy hunting, guys, for your Torah pieces.